Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech,
And this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
and welcome back to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. We are coming to you a little bit early this week because it is Turkey Day. Turkey Day is upon us. Also, Black Friday and Cyber Monday are upon us. So we assumed y'all wasn't going to be paying attention to us if we come out on Friday. So we're going to
Nope.
go ahead and record a little bit early so you can get the show a little bit early so you can listen, support the show, and get it out of the way so you can do your eating, your, what they call it, the
Football watching.
football. What else is it after Thanksgiving when you eat the food and take a nap? What do we call it? The itis. Get the itis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely know you weren't going to be listening to us after you got a belly full of nice food. So
All the
that's why
goodies.
so that's why we're coming to you a little bit earlier. This is episode 241 of the Snob OS Show, and as per usual, we definitely want to say thank you to all those who are supporting, who are listening, who are downloading, who are rating, sharing. A special thank you to those who are supporting us financially. We lovingly call our Patreon supporters who are dropping a couple dollars every month. We lovingly call them the Snobists, and we just finished up our pre-show where we give you exclusive content to where we talked about the things that we are interested in and already bought for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So if you want to be a part of that conversation to find out what we're looking for, definitely go to snoboscast.com / I said that backwards. Let me say it again. Patreon.com / snoboscast to become a financial supporter so you can get in on that exclusive content that we will not talk about on the regular show. Speaking of the regular show, we always start with the Lowdown where we talk all things Apple, and I've got a couple of things to talk about, but of course, the number one thing that anybody had anything to talk about was Apple has recently came out with a press release, and I'm just going to read it. Later next year, Apple will be adding support for RCS, which is Rich Communication Services, the standard as currently published by the GSM Association. Apple believes RCS Universal Profile will offer a better interoperability experience when compared to SMS or MMS. This will work alongside iMessage. Now, that's important. Will work alongside iMessage, which will continue to be the best and most secure messaging experience for Apple users. So, real quick, what does all that mean? Because if you go on the internet and let people who don't know nothing about nothing tell it, no more green and blue bubbles. Now
Apple finally gave in to all the bullying.
Right. Now, about time. What took them so long? I don't understand why. Yada, 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 right?
Android users are no longer second-class citizens. We got the same rights.
Right. Pump your brakes. I'm going to try to real quick break down what does Apple adopting RCS, like I mentioned, stands for Rich Communication Services. What does that mean? So basically what Apple is going to do sometime next year, don't really know when, I assume it'd be around February, March, April time, but when they actually flip the switch, RCS will just replace SMS and MMS. So instead of sending, if you're on an iPhone and you're sending a message to somebody who is on an Android, instead of the iPhone recognizing that and switching to SMS or MMS, instead it's going to switch to RCS. The benefit to that is you'll get better video and audio. So I don't know, every once in a while I'll send a message to somebody and they'll send messages back. They'll send pictures, they'll send video, and the format ain't the same depending on who you're sending it to. Sometimes it'll be clear. Sometimes the video will be compressed and it'll be kind of tiny. The pictures won't come out as nice as the person took them. So Apple adopting RCS is going to make better interoperability as it relates to media files, as it relates to some features that Android and iPhone, iOS users will share. In addition to that, encryption will be a little bit better. Again, SMS MMS has no encryption. RCS has some encryption, but it's not as foolproof as WhatsApp and definitely not iMessage. So if you're looking for full-blown end-to-end encryption, RCS won't do that, but it'll be better than sending a message over SMS or MMS. If you want full encryption, stick with WhatsApp, stick with iMessage. Just message other people using iMessage or Signal, Telegram, some of them other ones that boast full end-to-end encryption. So just keep that in mind. The last thing that I wanted to address is the fact that people thinking, oh, there's no more green and blue bubbles. Everybody's going to have the same features. No, like I mentioned, Apple said RCS is going to work alongside iMessage. So iMessage users are still going to have the better features, i.e., like if you send somebody a message and you just want to reply with a thumbs up or an LOL, you can use those tap back features. Those will still be exclusive to iMessage. For example, what's another one? Like audio messages. Apple has special audio messages, special Cash App. You can load up Cash App. You can load up Apple Cash and send people money. Right. You can do all those features on an iMessage. Even though Apple has adopted RCS, some of those features will remain exclusive to iMessage. And of course, the big question, RCS still uses green bubbles, even though Apple is adopting the RCS technology. You're still going to see blue bubbles if you're sending to somebody who is also using iMessage. If you're sending to somebody over RCS and they're not using iMessage, it's still going to be a green bubble. So those whole green bubble, yada, yada, yada. But the benefit to that is, like I mentioned, the reason why iPhone folks gave Android folks so much grief is because some of those videos and some of those pictures, some of the stuff that comes over from Android folks, it's like, I can't see this. I don't understand this. Yeah. This is grainy. This is whack.
Yeah.
So that's why some of the hate between green bubbles and blue bubbles existed, because when you send something, you're not really sure what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Now we can all be on the same page as far as what the video looks like, what the audio looks like, things of that. So, but you're still going to be a green bubble. It'll be a little bit better of a green bubble. So,
and it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see, because of course this news dropped literally as soon as we got finished recording.
Right.
And we talked about the Nothing smartphone last week that was supposed to, resolve the green bubble, blue bubble issue, which, is pretty much on pause now. And, it's one of those things where we did a reel from last week's show about this, and Terrance posted it, pretty quickly after, and it got a lot of engagement. And, people are talking about, we think the EU, which I agree is probably pushing this, because the EU has been flexing their muscles lately, along with the USB-C stuff, now with RCS, but also with the fact that, people are like, oh, it's more about the functionality. Nobody really cares about the blue bubble, green bubble. Now that RCS is going to work alongside iMessage, it's going to be interesting to see if people still complain about blue and green. I think people are still going to complain about blue and green. So it's like, for all the people saying, oh, it's not about the bubble color, it's about the functionality. You're going to get the functionality and improved functionality that gives you RCS, which, Android folks have been, lamenting about for years. And, Facebook, Google, all those folks have been trying to pressure Apple into coming over. They're giving you RCS, maybe not the way you want it, but the question is going to be, it's going to be interesting to see if people are still going to complain about the differentiator between iMessage and now RCS messages.
And like you said, they will, but they won't know why, right? Because the main reason why they were complaining, well, I mean, I say the main reason, one of the sensible reasons why people were complaining about the green bubbles versus blue bubbles is because of the quality of the messages coming through, right? So now that Apple's like, all right, we're going to adopt RCS, so the formatting and the quality of the messages are going to be on par. Are you happy? And I'm pretty sure people are going to be like, no, because I just
but
want
we're giving you what you want, right? So why are you happy?
Right. I just want something to complain about, and there's a differentiator. People, I guess people want to not feel excluded,
They want to be
but
in the cool club.
right. And again, Tim Cook has said it before. If you want to be a part of the club, go get an iPhone,
Yep.
because it makes sense. People are complaining, and I get it. You don't want to feel like you are not necessarily a second class citizen, but your messages are treated different or special, right?
Right.
But the whole push from Apple to adopt an iPhone is, look at all this cool stuff we have. Why on earth Apple would then say, all the people that we not suckered, all the people we convinced to buy an iPhone because of these special features, now we're just going to give them to everybody? It's like, that
Yeah.
doesn't even make like business sense. That didn't even make marketing or advertising sense. I
We can't
understand.
do that.
Right. I understand, messaging is messaging. Apple should not have some sort of headlock on messaging, and hopefully with this, Apple will release that headlock a little bit, but you have to expect that Apple is going to keep some of the features that make an iPhone, which is primarily iMessage, right? Because
Yep.
that's what most people do. They use messages and they talk in group chat and do all these
Yeah.
things. So Apple has created this features list that makes it pretty much exclusive from using anything else. Why on earth would they give up any of that exclusivity?
It's their proprietary software built for their proprietary phone. Why would they give it to everybody? It
Right.
doesn't make sense that they would.
So it'll be definitely interesting to see what it looks like when it actually rolls out. My guess is you won't notice any sort of change whatsoever outside of pictures looking better, videos looking a little bit better, which eventually, in my opinion, I think people are going to start to complain and say, but then it'll kind of turn into nothing really outside of just this cultural war, when
Yeah.
mostly cultural wars as it relates to social media, not
Yeah.
real cultural wars. That's the thing.
Yeah. Right.
Social media cultural wars, relax.
Yeah.
All right. So the next thing I had on the list is Apple again has pulled advertising from the Twitter/X platform. And I say again, because if you remember back in the day, Elon said something crazy or did something crazy, and Apple was like, yeah, we're pulling that.
Yeah.
Elon complained, went to meet with Apple. Apple was like, all right, we'll put it back on. We'll put the ads back on. That didn't last very long, because
Nope.
as Elon does, says something or does something stupid or just out of pocket. And Apple was like, you know what? We're pulling it again. This
One more
latest,
time.
right, this latest move is, and according to Axios, sources have confirmed Apple is quote unquote pausing all advertising on the site following Musk's endorsement, or not or his endorsement of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, as well as Apple ads reportedly being placed alongside far-right content. Now, the second one, there's kind of like a back and forth as to what really happened about this Apple ads being placed alongside of far-right content, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But the main one I think is really tipped the scales was Musk. I think he liked or commented on or supported a post by somebody else that had some anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, and that's all anybody needs for to be linked to or associated with anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. And Apple's like, yeah, we don't,
Especially in this climate.
especially in this climate, especially during this time. And Apple's like, yeah, we don't want those problems, so we're just going to pull our ads. Now, of course, like I mentioned before about the ads being placed reportedly alongside far-right content, Elon Musk says, that's fake, and they just did that just for sensationalism, because there's a company called Media Matters. And what Elon Musk is saying is you can't really prove that Apple ads was being placed alongside of far right content, because this media company, all they did was put out a bunch of tweets, did a bunch of tracking, and just found like one place that Apple ads was put alongside of any sort of far right content, and they use that as their smoking gun to then run this story. Apple saw this story and said, we're pulling our ads.
Right.
Of course, there's two sides to every story. There's their side and the other person's side, and the actual truth lies somewhere in the middle. But when you add all that up, similar to the Draymond Green situation, right? To where, Draymond has a history of these antics that's getting on people's nerves. And recently he put some dude in the Rudy Gobert, from the Timberwolves in a chokehold. NBA suspended him for 5 games. And the main reason why they did it was because you have a history of being out of pocket. So
Right.
while Elon Musk may have a point in saying, oh, this media matters company, all they did was wait for this one coincidental, anecdotal, screenshot, for example, better, like a better term. And that's what they went on. And they ran this whole story on that one insequential part. But bruh, you have a history of saying
Yeah.
crazy stuff. Your Apple pulled their ads off the first time because you was doing something crazy. I can't remember what it exactly was, but it was surrounding Elon and something he said or something he did. And Apple was like, nope, we out. So you have a history of these weird antics as it relates to the things that you post, the information that you put out on this platform. And Apple was like, well, you could be right. There could be some insequential hit job that this Media Matters was taking out on you. But it's like, this is you. This is what you do. So instead of trying to argue and go back and forth and take your word for it and y'all, well, we just gonna pull our ads. I ain't got time for
Yeah.
that.
And the thing is, I don't know why he's surprised by any of this, especially in this climate with what's going on over in Palestine, on the Gaza Strip, with Israel.
Mm-hmm.
It's already
Tense.
bad
Mm-hmm.
before, October 7th.
Mm-hmm.
But now, since it's ramped up even more.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to have your main revenue source pulled from your product, don't be anti-Semitic. Don't be,
And,
don't be. Just
right.
don't.
And if you feel like, and a lot of people are saying, well, the whole reason why he wanted to buy Twitter in the first place is it could be this last bastion of free speech. And you have the right to say whatever you want. And these
Mm-hmm.
companies have the right to react however they want. So I hope this is what you were looking for. It's like, why are you complaining that these companies are pulling their ads as a result of something that you say? When you said it, you have the freedom to say it. You bought this whole platform so you can have the freedom to say what you want to say. That also inclines people who are also using the platform, like Apple, to then say, nah, we ain't with it.
And
So think.
freedom of speech doesn't absolve you from consequences.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Period.
It does if the government does it. But you ain't the government. You are Twitter. Relax.
You are a private citizen.
Right. All right. So that's all. I'm not gonna spend all that much time on Elon
Yeah.
Musk because it is what it is with that dude. Moving forward with the next story, Apple is actually working with hackers. They've hired a team of hackers in an attempt to break into its own phones. Now that sounds weird, but if you think about it, there's something called ethical hacking. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what they
Yep.
refer to it as. And basically, Apple has hired hackers to perform all sorts of tests on its chips, physically blasting them with lasers, cooling them down, and then heating them back up. Anything that they can do to try to identify how Apple's specific their silicon chips could end up vulnerable. So basically, what they're
Mm-hmm.
saying is, all right, we've got these new chips out. Internally, we can do all these tests, but we are biased because we're internal to Apple, right? We need a third separate party to actually do what you got to do to see if you can break into these new silicon chips to identify any vulnerabilities. And if you find some, Apple will then hire, if not, um, continue with these people who are actually that they've brought on to identify these vulnerabilities to then actually kind of resolve them. So,
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to get your take on, Apple doing this. Is it better for them to do this, or would you prefer, because people love to leak Apple things, right? And I can imagine you can sign all the NDAs and stress the importance of secrecy and you can do all that. But I'm pretty sure something's going to come out as a
Yeah.
results to Apple hiring these outside parties to do this hacking. So do you think it's worth the risk to find these vulnerabilities, or should you you feel like Apple like still needs to kind of keep this close to the vest because people are just looking for any information to leak out into the world?
I think it's worth it. I started my career in R&D, in software and hardware engineering testing. So you do have a blind spot when you are the creator of hardware and software. You have a bias because oh, this is how this works. It's, kind of like the whole idea of negative testing. Well, it's only so much you can do because
Mm-hmm.
you know exactly how it's supposed to work and what it's supposed to do. So
Mm-hmm.
you have a blind spot on things that, oh no, I know that works. I know that's fine. I don't need to test that. Well, when you hand things over, like when you do you and your user testing, people do crazy stuff
Mm-hmm.
to software and to hardware,
Stuff
things
you would
that the
never expect.
mind
Right.
cannot even comprehend. Like, why would you even do that? But the thing is,
It works
people do that.
sometimes.
Yeah, people do it. So you need to be aware of your vulnerabilities
Mm-hmm.
in your design and in your software. You need a different set of eyes that is going to give you a different perspective, a different look. A lot of times people say you have the bird's eye view. Well, what about the underside view or the side view or the angled view? Those are all different perspectives that you need to make sure you have a handle on when you're
Mm-hmm.
putting out a product, especially something as verbose as a chip or a new phone.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that you've done everything that you can to test a device. There's no foolproof method. Nothing is going to ever be 100% tested, but you want to test it as much as you can so that you have a comfortable level of, we did the best that we could. And if something comes out of that, it's like, you know what? It's only so much we can do. It's only so much we can find. But allowing this outside view, it gives, better safety for the user and better protection for the company that creates it. And I think it's a good idea. And honestly, it's not that far outside of the realm. You hear of banks hiring robbers and
Mm-hmm.
thieves. Um, Museums hire people who do heists and thieves and that steal things to make sure that their systems are, put through the ringer from people whose job it is to take things,
Mm-hmm.
or people's job who it is to, in Apple's case, to hack things. So I think it's a smart move.
All right. All right. And just a quick correction. I don't know if it's the silicon chips that Apple created for the Mac, but this story that I'm reading from Unilad just specifies iPhone chips.
Hmm.
So, according to the story, Apple has hired these hackers to test the iPhone chips. I don't necessarily know if they're, also or in addition to doing the silicon chips. So, I just wanted to make that quick correction. All
Either
right.
way, it's all good to do this.
All right, all right. So that is it for the lowdown. We're going to move into second string where we talk tech in general. So, in addition to the RCS news that Apple dropped on everybody, the only other news that I can think of that took up
That
so
anybody
much,
in tech is talking about.
right, is OpenAI. Of course, OpenAI is the parent company of ChatGPT that everybody and their mama's using, everybody and their mama's trying to duplicate, and also is the focus of consternation, if I could just use that word, as to whether or not OpenAI wants to profit from all of these advances as it relates to AI, or does OpenAI want to say, "Hey, we've got to slow down and make sure we're doing this responsibly. Let's slow down." There's an arm, there's a non-profit arm of OpenAI that says, "Hey, we got to do this responsibly. Let's slow down." There's a for-profit arm of OpenAI that says, "Full steam ahead, rush to get these things to market."
Because it's all about
let's
the money.
let's get paid, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is where OpenAI is starting to split, because
Hmm.
Sam Altman, the CEO, according to the stories that I've read, is the person that's like, we started ethically and we started responsibly, but we also trying to get paid. So, let's bring in people like Microsoft. Let's hurry up and uh, create these products and get them to market so we can make money. My guess is, based on all the ratings, the nonprofit arm was like, nah, we ain't doing that. So last Friday, they sent the dude a
Hmm.
text message and was like, yo, We don't think you can perform as a CEO anymore, so we're firing you. We're also dropping the co-founder Greg Brockman from the board, but they
Mm-hmm.
said you can keep your role at OpenAI, but you're coming off the board. They announced that the CTO Mira Murati
Mm-hmm.
come in as the interim CEO, but y'all two are out.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Brockman says, "Nah, if y'all, I'm with my man Sam. I'm leaving
Y'all
too."
oust him. I'm gone too.
So he writes a note that says, "I'm out. I can't deal with this no more." And then as Friday rolls into Saturday, one of the other co-founders, Ilya Suits,
He was on the board.
yeah, I'm destroying his name, Ilya Sutskevi.
Suitskev?
Sutskevi.
Suitskeeves?
I'm sorry to you. I'm sorry to this
Sorry,
man.
Ilya. We're just gonna start. We're just gonna
Right.
call you Ilya. We
Right.
don't know you like that, but that's what we're gonna call you. Thank you.
Right. After everything kind of breaks down, Sam is leaving, Greg is leaving. There's some rumblings about some employees thinking about leaving. He's like, wait a minute, I regret my decision.
I didn't sign up for this.
I just wanted to slow down. I didn't want to do all this. So he, put everything's on Twitter. So Sam is, putting these posts on Twitter saying it's been real at OpenAI. Greg Brockman, when he quit, he did the Twitter press release. The other co-founder, Ilya S, said, I regret that, and put it on Twitter. So we're all over the weekend eating all this up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, as everything's kind of breaking down, even the nonprofit arm of OpenAI is like, wait a minute. A lot is going on, because fast forward to Saturday and almost into Sunday, the employees, the engineers, the scientists, like over 500.
Over 500 of the 770 employees, including the board member that originally agreed to this and the CEO turned interim CEO, signed this as well.
Right. So they're like, if this is how it's going to go down, we are all sign this letter to leave as well. And of course, it makes sense for them to say that, because Microsoft is in on all this too. And they, like, into Saturday,
Y'all want to come over here and work on us?
Right. They, Satya Nadella and Microsoft agreed to kind of, because they,
have a vested interest.
Pledged, right? They have a vested interest because they pledged what, $10 billion,
10 billion, yeah,
right, into OpenAI. So they don't want all this to fall away and disappear. So Microsoft's bet, we're gonna help y'all kind of negotiate. I'm assuming there's a middle ground, yada yada yada. If there ain't no middle ground, what we gonna do is we gonna spin up this AI version or department of
research
Microsoft,
group,
right?
Yeah,
And have Sam Altman, Greg Brockman, and all those employees that if they decide they can't deal with this no more, y'all can come on over to Microsoft. We got spots, we got seats available for y'all, right? So that's Saturday and Sunday. Come Monday, OpenAI, they decide not to bring in, like you mentioned, Mira Murati, who is the interim, since she sided with the employees and Sam. They decide to bring in another CEO. This guy is Twitch co-founder Emmett Shear as an interim CEO. He says, I had to take advantage of this great opportunity. One of the first things I'm gonna do on my list is figure out what happened and why. I guess he did a cursory look, because no soon after he's brought on as a CEO, he's threatening to walk out himself, because he's like
saying, if you can't
right,
prove to me that these firings were valid, then I'm out.
Yep. So, and I haven't seen anything else. I've been trying to keep an eye on it throughout the day before we record it, but I think that's where we're at now. To where, go ahead.
I think the last thing I saw was Emmett Shear saying that he was going to bounce. They're now talking again to Sam and team about bringing him back. This is the second round of them talking about bringing it back.
Okay, the second round, right? Because the first time they had a deal, but it expired, and then they brought in the Emmett Shear, and he bounced. So they were like, all right, we got to start from scratch.
Right, because Emmett Shear, he just left Twitch maybe 9 months ago. Had a baby. He was, did when they do the whole announcement, I'm stepping back. I want to spend time with my family. They brought this guy 9 months out of his family time to take over. Let's just be honest, this shit show.
Which is, as an aside, and I just want to get in here real quick. It's amazing how people will say, oh, I'm leaving to search myself, and I'm leaving to, do some work on me, or I want to leave to spend more time with my family. But shortly thereafter, they get that deal. They
some dollars.
Right. Here they come right on back. Right. But that's just a side, but continue.
Yeah. So, so they're back talking again, because the first time the talks broke down, it appeared as because they wanted the current board gone.
Right.
And
the board, letter.
Right.
Exactly.
And a new board brought in. They couldn't agree on who the new board members would be. In addition, Sam was wanting some additional governance added to this, because he's like, why would I come back if the same people want me gone? Because
it's just going to happen again later.
Right. Because in none of this conversation, there was no malfeasance for the reason he was gone. It was these vague communications.
Right.
And it just, to me, it seems like the board members that were left that voted against this, it just seems to me they didn't like Sam.
Right.
They just didn't like the way he was
running things.
They just didn't like him.
Right.
I don't even know if it's necessarily the thing about the way he was running things. I think he wasn't giving them, because he's a co-founder. He's the biggest name and face that goes when you think OpenAI, you think Sam Altman. And I think because they are the nonprofit side and they were given the most power as opposed to the for-profit side, I think it was a bunch of ego-driven type things, because nobody could ever say what he did wrong.
Right.
That led them to this firing. Because if you're going to fire a founder and CEO, typically the first thing you do when you fire them, you lay out all your grievances to say, it was A, B, C, and D why we had to let him go. But nobody wanted to say what A, B, C, and D was. They just said communications was, not quite there. But you take the time to say it was no malfeasance. He didn't do anything that was
destructive or mess up the money.
Yeah. And so it just seems as if, to me, I don't know these people, that these board members was feeling themselves. And it was like, you're going to respect me.
Because we've got the power.
We got the power, because the whole thought, like I said before, the idea of having a nonprofit and a for-profit board when you're working in AI, it actually, on face value, seems smart, because you want to make sure you're doing things ethically. We've all talked about how AI can easily go wrong, especially when you're talking about money and, you're doing whatever it takes to get the money. But you have this nonprofit side that was like, okay, let's think about this. What's the value add? How is this going to affect society? All of those things that are very much important, and they gave them more power than the money side. And on the surface, this is great. They're thinking forward. They're not just thinking all about money. They're thinking about how is this going to affect people. But now you have the nonprofit people just out here being like, nope, we want it our way or no way.
Right.
So it seems. And, to me, especially in a startup, when you have almost 70% of the employees siding with the CEO and co-founder, that says a lot about the person. And I think that the board was so
taken aback.
I think they had tunnel vision, and they were just so in their feelings about whatever issues they had with Sam. They just assumed that everybody would feel that same way. And then when they do it after 4:00 on a Friday, so the market was closed.
They waited.
Had time. They waited purposefully. They didn't tell their biggest $10 billion investor until an hour before, because they knew they would have gotten their hands into it, because they have a vested interest. And now you have almost 70% of your work population, the people who are supposed to continue to do the work, saying, we're going to bounce
Mm-hmm.
if you don't rectify this because this is our man's.
Right. Which is
We're going to stand
crazy.
beside it,
Which
which is
is and it's crazy because now the board that tried to make this move in the first place, now they're between a rock and a hard place. It is, do we concede and have Sam and his people that he's handpicked and selected come back into the fold, and then we get ousted because the people he wants on the list, I'm pretty sure, are the main ones that voted to get him out in the first place. So this thing that you tried to be in control over, now you're no longer in control of. That's the
mm-hmm.
rock. Or the hard place is stand firm, stand on your guns, get Sam and get all the researchers and the engineers and Microsoft, get them out the paint, and then start over from scratch. But like you mentioned, suffer from the idea that Sam and Microsoft was the main tenants that was holding OpenAI up together. And if you get
Yeah.
rid of that piece, there's no guarantee that you can keep things running at a current pace. And then
Mm-mm.
now you start to see users drop off because it's not the
Because
same.
Microsoft now has a fully for profit, they don't have any caps on how much money they can make. They don't have any type of ethical standing that they have to do. They can just go strictly for the money. And they've taken all your people and all the
Mm-hmm.
talent who
Mm-hmm.
built the first one.
And now
So
you got a
now you're going to
competitor.
have direct competition
Right.
with a multinational company that has all your people and all your tech.
Right. Right.
So it's going to be, basically a worthless endeavor at this point
Well, actually, it's
because
going to come out negative because either way, it doesn't bode well. Now you
for company
lose,
morale, for
right?
people that remain,
You either fall off eventually or fall off fast because, like I
yeah,
said, if they bring Sam and them back into the fold, there's some people on the board, if not the entire board, gets replaced.
yeah,
And now you on the outside looking in, it's like, oh man, we was trying to. Now I ain't got no job, no
yeah, I
board.
ain't got nothing.
Now I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure they can go get millions of dollars other places, but
yeah,
OpenAI is the player as
yeah.
it relates to AI. And why wouldn't you want to be in that
Where
room?
the action is, where it
Exactly.
basically originated, where it
Right.
became the most popular. And then it's like companies like Salesforce telling OpenAI employees for the people who may not want to go to Microsoft,
Everybody's poaching. Mm-hmm.
everybody's coaching. We'll give you full match, equity, salary, benefits, full match. Come and work for us.
Mm-hmm. But so I didn't have any sort of speculation. Well, I did have a conspiracy theory. My conspiracy theory that Sam Altman, like you mentioned, the board, nobody liked him. And I think there may be something there more so than he's just like an asshole or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There may be something more there that if I was to make this tough and abrupt decision, my thing would be like, all right, let's get him out of the paint before the other shoe drops. And this other personal stuff comes out about Sam and I don't know, personal, whatever the case may be. We don't want no part of that. So we're just going to have to,
But they said it was nothing else,
right. Because I think
unless they're lying. But
well, not necessarily lying. They're stalling because they're
mm,
waiting on this other news to come out, and they don't want to be able to people say, "Well, the reason why he fired you is because you did X, Y, and Z." They would rather wait for it kind of to surface on its own. So they're like, "All right, well, let's just get him out of the paint, and let's just hold what we can hold together until this other news comes out, and then we're vindicated, right?"
mm-hmm,
If that's not the case, then you got a whole another host of problems. Number one, number
yeah,
two, I understand outside of the we just don't like Sam Altman. If that's let's just say that's not the case, right?
mm-hmm,
Maybe it's the original clash between hurry up to market and make as much money as possible and let's do this ethically, let's slow down, let's get, regulations, let's get stuff in place. Those are clashing, right?
mm,
It sucks that if that was the case, the nonprofit arm, because like you mentioned, we've talked about all the things, all the potential issues with AI. We've talked about the actual issues as it relates to AI. Personally speaking, all the biases built into AI. We've got all kinds of specialists that says, hey, the way AI is going right now, is a bleak outlook. We need to slow down, slow down, slow down. So the OpenAI people is listening to all these feedback, listening to all these specialists, listening to all these important people that are saying, hey, be careful. And they're like, all right, we got to be careful, but we got Sam over here that's like full speed ahead, go to market. We bring Microsoft in, billions and billions and billions of dollars. We are the number one player. We need to stay on top, and we need to hurry up and develop these things, go to market, yada, yada, yada. The fact for them to clash and you being the moral and ethical side, you lose so bad. It's just almost like there's no hope. If they are trying to actually slow this thing down and they get all kicked off of the board, off of the company that they're trying to let's be responsible for, it's just to me, it's just weird that you would think that Sam Altman was on the team of the non-ethical side, and the people that's trying to drive all these stuff up is the ones to where you just get a couple of those members off the board and we be straight. It's the other way around. It's like the non-profit arm is the one that's taking the punches and getting beat up, when you would think they would be the ones that's like, all right, we're cheering from them. Everybody's cheering for the full steam ahead thing, which is weird to me.
And also, someone posted, I follow Alexis Ohanian, the former founder of, the founder of Reddit.
Reddit, right?
Yeah. And someone posted a picture and he retweeted it. Him, Sam Altman, Emmett Shear, the guy who founded Cruise, and a couple of other people were all in the Y Combinator together.
Yep.
So it was like all of them kind of sitting at this table, with their fresh-faced ideas. But my thing is, you're hiring from a pool that's basically, kind of the same.
Right.
So I don't know how you're going to expect a co-founder, a Silicon Valley bred co-founder, to not be in that same mindset of, we got to press forward, we got to keep going, we got to get this done. I don't see how hiring someone of the same ilk really is going to fix that, which leads me back to believing they just don't like Sam Altman.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, we shall see. Because, like I said, this thing is developing.
It's Succession in real time.
Right.
The Netflix series is going to be great.
I may have to go back and watch Succession, and then there's another one called Billions. I think
Billions. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about. I'm gonna have to go back and watch those and see how much, as well as The Social Network and all these other ones.
There's a finance one too. I forgot what the name of it was. It was really good.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch some of those to see if any of this news, as it relates to OpenAI, if it lines up with, is fact. What is it? Fact greater than fiction? There's a phrase or something. Well, we'll see if people that's making up stuff for shows, how far off are they? Doesn't seem like they're very far off.
Yeah.
All right. So that is all for Second String. We're going to move into For the Culture, where we talk social media or just social commentary in general. So I pretty much have got all of the major stories that took up all the news over the past week. This third one being Diddy is in the hot seat. It kind of all stems from his longtime ex-girlfriend, Cassie, who was also a artist on Bad Boy. At the time of her signing, I think she was 19. I want to say. And he was already in his 40s, if not 50s.
37, I believe.
Okay. In his late 30s, early 40s.
Yep.
So they were a long
about
time.
20-year age difference.
Right. And they were together about that long, right?
Yep.
Long-time girlfriend. It seems as if it wasn't all good, because just last week, Cassie came public with the fact that she was suing Diddy for sexual and physical abuse. And it seems like there wasn't that much mediation, or what is the other one? Starts with an A. There wasn't much mediation because Diddy quickly settled, and his lawyer settled for undisclosed amount. It didn't take that long at all. This lawsuit came out, the news came out, and they quickly grand opening, grand closing. But that has pretty much sparked all of the conversation, all of the history as it relates to Diddy and Cassie, as it relates to Diddy and Kim Porter, his previous they weren't husband
Girlfriend.
and wife,
Long.
girlfriend,
No, they were
yeah,
long time. Yeah.
longtime boyfriend, girlfriend. We've got
Mother of what, I think 4 of his children?
yeah, we've
Yeah.
got uh, bodyguards coming out. We've got previous label mates and artists under Bad Boy.
Previous
Yeah,
girlfriends coming out as well. Yeah.
all of the weird, unbelievable but plausible stories that we've heard about Diddy over the years, they're starting to make not only starting to make more sense, but people are starting to corroborate a lot of these stories that were just stories, right? Talking
Yeah.
about Diddy and these parties he would have. And again, specifically as it relates to Cassie, because according to the rumors, according to the actual lawsuit, in addition to Diddy just being, awful to Cassie, which is her name is Cassie Ventura,
Cassandra. Yep.
Cassandra Ventura. There was some stories that came out about, Diddy, not, I don't want to say not property, but allowing other people to do things to her that I've
Yes.
heard,
Sexual
right?
trafficking.
Right.
Yes.
So, everybody's got some say. So I just wanted to really get your take on the whole thing. Is it deserved? Is Diddy just being targeted because he's a mogul? What is your take on the whole thing?
So, there have been rumors for years, not just around Cassie, but
Mm-hmm.
around other girlfriends, as you mentioned, around other artists, that he, is a bully and
Mm-hmm.
he
Uh-huh.
is very horrible to people. And for Cassie, she was probably, I don't think she was with him the longest. I think Kim Porter
Oh,
was
was she?
probably with
Okay.
him the longest.
Uh-huh.
But again, you mentioned the 19. He met her, I think, when she was 17.
Mm-hmm.
Then he signed her. He stole her from another label or something like that, and
Mm-hmm.
signed her to like a 10 album
Deal,
deal or
which is
something,
insane, but
which is
on
nuts
par on with
for that time.
what Diddy was doing. You think of Craig
Right.
Mack, you think of Shine, you think of all of those making the band groups. You think
And
of
that's
right.
where the conversation sparks from. It's like he has a history of doing these types of things. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think to the extent that Cassie experienced with the domestic violence, the sexual assault,
Right,
the
because
trafficking, the abuse,
right,
because it's a little bit different.
right,
But people were saying, oh, she's after money and all these things. And what it really boiled down to is in the state of New York, there was a Adult Survivors Act that was signed by the governor, Kathy Hochul. And it was for adults over the age of 18
mm-hmm.
who were assaulted, whether it be sexually or physically. They gave you a year's window to bring your case for this. And if you look at the filing, it's a 35-page filing that has a trigger warning and big bold letters at the beginning of it, letting you know there's going to be some really messed up stuff that you're going to see in there. It expired, I think, a week or so. The expiration was coming up rapidly,
Mm-hmm.
which is why she went ahead and filed.
Okay.
So it wasn't of why didn't she say anything before?
Mm-hmm.
If you read some of the stuff that this young lady, this young woman
Allegedly,
documented
yeah,
happened to her,
right.
and you have someone like Puffy who has been in the industry since he was 18 or 19, he's in his 50s now, who is a mogul, who is, if not a billionaire, close to it, has huge influence. One of the things that came out after they had broken up, she was dating Kid Cudi. He threatened to blow up Kid Cudi's car.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Kid Cudi's car got blown up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where people always say, well, if something like this happens to you, you should go to the police.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen women go to the police with credible evidence to accuse someone of causing them physical harm. We've seen how those women have been dragged through the mud, their
Mm-hmm.
history brought up, just beat down even more
So
than
hold
what
that
their
thought.
physical offense
All right,
is.
hold that thought because and continue because I wanted to
Yep.
bring up something as it relates to that. Right,
Hmm.
Paula Jai Parker. If you remember,
Hmm.
she is the girl in Friday. A bunch of
Trudy
other
from
things.
Proud Family.
Right, right, right. She is came out and actually is questioning the lawsuit, actually saying, "Hey, y'all treating her like a damsel when actually she is, her words, a baby demon." So I'm going to read this quote from her. She says, um, as a sexual abuse victor, not a victim, one would think I get it, but I don't. As a child looking for nothing from anyone, but y'all called us thirsty for protecting what's mine. But I ain't thirsty when you forget to protect your behind. I'm sorry, but I don't get it. I used to be 19 and I was in the industry and I was quite capable of saying no. You're
Mm,
between a rock and a hard place in this industry. You suffer no matter your choice. So why not choose God? It worked for Jesus. Continue, continue, continue.
yeah.
I wish someone would have said that the three-year old me couldn't say no, but 19, we're all strong enough to make choices that affect the rest of our lives. If you can say no, if you can't say no, you're not built for it. I guess the entertainment industry. Take the midnight train now before you get yourself in trouble. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying she wasn't complaining about being his quote unquote woman and the fame that came with it. What goes on between man and woman is just that. At what point does pleasing your quote unquote man become this? Dot dot dot. Only chicks dating freaky millionaires. So some of that's kind of weird, but to
Yeah.
to summarize that, she's basically saying she knew what she was doing.
Hmm.
Cassie knew what she was doing at 19. And it's one thing for her to say she was sexually assaulted, but it was she really sexually assaulted or did she just date Diddy and he was a freak in the bed?
Hmm.
And quit. We need to stop putting the blame on everybody but these women who know good and well what they're doing. That's the summary.
Yeah.
So I said that because you mentioned a lot of people, a lot of men, are dragging these women through the
Hmm.
mud. And then you've got this woman
Well,
who
who was
also,
a survivor?
right, that's what I was going to say, who was also, involved with, or like she says it, a sexual assault victor saying these things. So continue your thought.
And what I will say with Paula J. Parker, I really feel sad for her
Hmm.
because it doesn't sound like she really dealt with her trauma.
Right.
And it seems to me, I hate to see it, but she may be a little jealous
Okay.
that Cassie may be getting the support,
That she
maybe
didn't
getting
get.
the visibility that she didn't get when she
Right.
was a child.
Hmm.
So I think that plays into her statements as well.
Hmm.
But all of that to say, um, and the people's like, oh well, she took the money. My thing is, at this stage in the game, this is the only type of justice she would
Recourse.
ever
Right.
get. This
Right.
is her own, this is the only recourse she would ever get. If she'd said this at 19, they would have said, oh, she's just jealous. She's just out to trap a man. If she said it later down the road, it's, oh, she's jealous or she's just mad that he's moved on to someone else. There is no point in time during this woman's first interaction with him from 19 to now that she could have brought any of these charges. And the people who are blaming her now would not have blamed her at all of those different crossroads.
Hmm.
And the thing is, what I think people are missing is this man has long money. He
Right.
has a plethora of resources. If he felt that he needed to fight this or that all of this was wrong, all of this was false, he has the resources to drag this out forever.
True. But
And
also, I think the reason why they solved it, and this goes to your ultimate point, I think the reason why they settled so quickly was because they would have to go through this fact finding thing and
yeah,
drag out
yep.
all these details
And
and
more
all
people
of these
come
stories,
out.
and more people would come out because you mentioned it. You mentioned him and Kid Cudi. There's
Hmm.
also a story about Diddy and uh, uh, uh,
Another former
I'll
girlfriend I
be
heard
sure.
named Gina. Yep.
No, I was
I'll be
talking.
sure.
Yeah, I was
I
going to
talking with the
mention.
men.
Yeah, I was going to mention. I'll be sure because you mentioned King Cudi and violence, right? We already know Diddy and Tupac, right? And that's a whole thing,
Biggie.
right?
Yep.
And then you got Kid Cudi, and also mentioned I'll be sure because backstory. I'll be sure and Kim Porter, who was Puffy's longtime girlfriend
Mm-hmm.
before Cassie, they
They have a
share a
son
child together. And I'll be
that
sure
Diddy helped raise. He helped Diddy. I mean, he calls Diddy dad as well,
but as
and all that
cryptic
stuff.
but as cryptic as Albie sure is, one of the things
Hmm.
he mentioned during all this was the fact that Diddy threatened or failed to cause him harm because something happened with Albie Shore back in the day, as far as some violence, and they kind of looped that back around to
Hmm.
Diddy. So if you add all that stuff up,
It's lots of violence
lots and
with lots
lots
of people.
and lots of details that
Yes,
Diddy would have to deal with,
answer for. Yeah.
right, publicly, privately, whatever. And sounds like he didn't want none of that smoke because I was going to bring everything out in
And
addition
even
to just the sexual assault and sex
yeah,
slave and all that stuff.
even in addition to Cassie, the 35-page filing that was really extensive, her attorney even said, you can't put video in a filing. He was like, he has videos of even more depraved things. So
Mm-hmm.
the 35-page was just kind of like the appetizer, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And if they had to go through full discovery on her decades long relationship with him, and all of the offshoots from her, the decades long relationship with Kim Porter, the decades long relationship with his first baby mama, Misa Hilton,
Mm-hmm.
and other girlfriends or people at these house parties that he has.
They would have
I've
to be
seen,
called in and have conversations, and they don't want to look. The whole point was
they
going
like,
to the
look,
private party. It was to be
yeah,
private. Now you want me to?
right.
Somebody's calling me to ask some questions. Nah.
Yeah, because Bun B talked about it. He was like, he didn't say Puffy specifically, but he was like, you're in the industry, you want to be at the parties or whatever. And he was like, be careful what you ask for because at some of these parties, they have
Mm-hmm.
these rooms in the house.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Mm-hmm.
only get in the room if you're willing to do
And we've heard,
what's behind the door.
and I've heard, and that's just Diddy, right? That's Bun B
Yes.
talking about Diddy specifically, but in general, we've heard about these stories
Yeah.
unrelated to this. Jamie
Yeah.
Foxx having these story parties, Will Smith and them having these parties.
It was
Who
about
else?
to open up
Yeah,
Pandora's box from
right.
a bunch of people
That would
because
rather
they're
keep
all
this
in
on
the
the low,
industry
right?
and it's all interlinked. The same people, some of the same girls, some of the same guys go
Mm-hmm.
to these same parties across different celebrities
Mm-hmm.
and bringing up other people. It's like, look, you need to figure this out.
Figure this out, Diddy. we
Yeah.
didn't we didn't let you
And
ride this long, but
yeah,
either you fix it or we gonna fix it for you. And probably
yeah,
how they was gonna fix it was air all his stuff out, and then
yeah.
that would leave him, brother love, which is so hypocritical.
Ridiculous. And I think Rolling Stone just did a story
Mhm.
about some of this.
Okay.
And so it's one of those things where, honestly, I don't think he's going to be held accountable outside of the money that he had to pay for Cassie,
Right.
because I think it's one of those things where any other victim or any other person who he's harmed saw how quickly he shut down the whole
Mm-hmm.
Cassie situation.
Mm-hmm.
And she had proof
Mm-hmm.
over years.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can shut hers down that fast, it's one of those
Mm-hmm.
things where what's going to happen to lowly old me video
Mm-hmm.
vixen who
Mm-hmm.
XYZ happened to.
Yeah.
So I don't think that he's going to suffer too many consequences. I think he's going to have to go underground for a long while.
Yeah. Keep
I
quiet.
don't think, yep, I don't think anybody's going to want to work with him
Associate.
frequently.
Yeah.
Right. So that will probably be his only comeuppance. And for someone like him, maybe that's a big deal because he is Mr. Everybody loves me. I throw the parties. I'm the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Halloween, I'm outside,
Mm-hmm.
that type
And
of
we just
thing.
talked about him. You wasn't here. We was talking. I was with Stephanie, and we
Hmm.
talked about his Halloween outfit where he dressed up
Hmm.
as the Darkest Night, and everybody loved it. Fast forward
So much
a
so,
month.
Warner Brothers had to do a cease and desist that he couldn't dress
Mhm.
up as a Joker anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fast forward a month, and now he is what damaged goods, for lack of a better
He is a
term.
leper.
So hopefully, what I hope this does is change the industry to where
Mm,
some of these, if not the elder statesmen of the industry, like the Diddy's and the Jay-Z's and the Bun B's and all those people that's, kind of established themselves. I'm talking about these new kids, these new cats are coming through. I hopefully the culture changes to where they think twice about what and who and how and when and where, and are a little bit more long thinking, because of course, these young guys, they're still trying to get in for the
yeah.
fame of it all, right? But hopefully this just gets them to think more strategically. Sure, you may want to have the wild parties and you may want to have the women on top of women on top of women. Fast forward to Diddy, hopefully you're like, let me be a little bit more strategic. I'm not morally and ethically, they're not going to do it. I'm just hoping it's like, all right, come on, man. Think about this before you
Not to be a
do
pessimist, but to be a pessimist, I don't think it's going to happen. I
Okay.
honestly think things are going to go even further
Okay.
underground.
Okay.
And people in this industry have huge egos and they always think I'm going to be the one that's not going to get caught.
Right.
So it's not going to happen to me. So I just hope that, especially these young ladies who are coming into the industry,
Mm-hmm.
I hope that they have a good support system around them. I hope that they listen to some of the OGs, because listen to any of these women in the industry, they've pretty much given you the blueprint of what to look out for,
And they tell the
what
same
can come,
stories,
and
apparently.
they're all telling the exact same story. So
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's always a thing of, you know, why won't men be better? Why won't they not abuse?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that that's likely not the case. No matter
And that's
how
what I
much
was
we want,
hoping.
how much we raise, men to be, it's always going to be some depraved individual.
Right. And that's
So
why
the
I was
only,
And
oh,
that's why I was
go ahead.
trying to direct my change towards the men. I didn't want to come out
Mm,
and say, I'm hoping that
yeah,
women, when they become up in the industry, now they know
yeah.
not to do. I didn't want to do that. I was
And
like,
I
all
and I
right.
and I get it, and it makes sense. And it's actually, that's the way it should be. The men should change.
Mm-hmm.
It should not be up. Women shouldn't have to
The least
be
common denominator.
afraid.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, we live in the real world.
Right.
And even just a regular citizen like me, going to the grocery store, being out at night, even in the daytime, it's, you have to always, unfortunately, be aware of everything that's
Mm-hmm.
going on around you if you want to keep yourself safe. You can't count on, some of these men not being dirtbags.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You unfortunately, as a woman, we don't have that luxury to say, you should do better. You should be raised better. You should. And I agree wholeheartedly with that. At the same time, I live in the real world and I have to make sure I do what I can to minimize the harm caused to me. It's not
Right.
fair. It's not right. We shouldn't have to. Women should feel safe to work, to do their art,
Or have fun. I mean,
and
so,
just enjoy life
and
without
even,
having the extra pressure of staying safe.
and even in these situations and scenarios, I'm not an artist, I'm not an entertainer, I'm not a celebrity. So I don't know what happens in these things, parties,
Hmm.
events, whatever the case may be. I'm not saying shut it all down. I'm just saying treat people with respect and decency,
Kindness and decency
while
go a long way.
y'all being freaky and while y'all doing all this stuff and while it's
Consent is a thing. If someone
exactly.
consents to this, hey, I'm not going to yuck your yum.
Mm-hmm.
Have at it, enjoy it, but at the same time, respect people's
Mm-hmm.
autonomy over their body
And be
and
smart
their
about
consent.
this. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So I don't
Sad
want to.
stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to bum myself out before
Yeah, that's sad.
Thanksgiving. But hopefully, like I said, like if the industry doesn't change, hopefully, something happens.
Yeah,
Because Diddy is pretty big. It
yeah,
ain't like Rudy Poop, right? This is
yeah.
Diddy we talking about.
It's a big
So
deal.
if it can
Yeah,
happen to him, maybe some of these people's like, oh, let me rethink my strategy.
yeah.
All right, so that
One
is
would
it for the
think.
culture. We're gonna move into the hookup. So I actually have this tip that I think we've talked about. I'm pretty sure I talked about it before, but it seems to actually make more sense now that Black Friday and Cyber Monday has come about. We've got all these deals and we've got all these websites offering these discounts, 20%, 30%, 40%. What I've mostly seen is in order to buy anything from these websites or to get the discount, you got to enter your email address, spin the wheel to unlock your gift, and enter your email address in order to get the text message or the email to get the discount code in order to use the 40. That's all I see, right?
Yeah.
And it's one thing to like, all right, let me enter my email address and let me get the discount and let me get the deal and then cross my fingers and go into
That they
the
won't spam me to
email
death.
and unsubscribe, right? Cross your fingers and hopefully when you unsubscribe, they actually remove your email from the system. I don't trust it. So
Nope.
my tip, instead of unsubscribing from emails, if you're an iPhone user, iPad user, Mac user, and you subscribe to iCloud Plus, I think the lowest tier subscription is $99 a month. Gets you iCloud Plus, which gets you, a whole host of features. iCloud Drive storage space, private relay for your IP addresses, the ability to create multiple domains. You can make custom domains with iCloud Plus. But the feature that I want to talk about that's part of my hookup is the feature that's called Hide My Email. And basically what Hide My Email does is when you enter your email address, instead of entering your real email address, you can use this Hide My Email feature to create almost like a burner email. And once you create that burner email, you use that email to enter into the website to get the discount, to get the discount code, whatever the
Code,
case may
whatever. Yeah.
be, right? Once you've done that and you've bought the thing or it don't interest you anymore, instead of unsubscribing, trying to find the little hidden unsubscribe text to then go and cross your fingers and hope that it unsubscribes, the Hide My Email, once you create that email address, you can actually go into the iCloud settings, the Hide My Email settings, and deactivate the email address altogether. All the burner email address is doing is forwarding the emails to your main address. So Hide My Email, when you enter your email, they don't see the real email address, they just see the burner one, and that forwards it. Once you sever that connectivity by deactivating the email address, the emails that these people send will just go nowhere because the email address no longer exists. So that's my tip. If you're going to be out on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you might want to look at the iCloud Plus feature called Hide My Email. So it just takes a little bit of foresight to say, oh, I'm about to enter my email. Let me turn on Hide My Email and then sign up that way. So then you can then go deactivate the whole email address. So you no longer have to deal, like Nica said, with them spamming your inbox long after
For
you've
perpetuity.
purchased the thing. And in my case, I've seen times to where I know for a fact I unsubscribed
Subscribed.
from this
Weeks
email
ago.
list weeks
Yeah.
ago. Why are you still sending me emails?
No,
Because they really ain't
they don't do
removing
it.
the emails. So I
No.
would much rather deactivate the email address altogether versus trying to unsubscribe and pray that it stays
Actually works.
unsubscribed, right?
Yeah.
So that is my tip. Like I said, you do have to subscribe to iCloud Plus. It's just not a free thing. It comes with the phone. But like I said, the lowest tier is like $1 a month. I would pay for that all day long. And in addition to getting iCloud Drive and all these other things, I get the ability to create burner emails that I can turn off anytime I want to.
Yep. Yep.
All right, so I think that is it for the hookup. And if you don't have anything else, Nica, I think that is it for the show. Like I said, we definitely want to thank y'all for subscribing, for following, for watching. It is, like I said, Turkey Day week. I got on my Who Made the Potato Salad shirt because I'm looking
Because that is an
forward.
important question.
Yeah, because my mom is coming in town and I specifically
Nice.
requested she make potato salad. So I'm
Nice.
definitely going to take a part of that. So, Nica, tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Tech Savvy Diva everywhere. Also, I was on DTNS on Monday,
Okay.
but what we talked about, it may be a little out of date because OpenAI is an ever-evolving saga.
Oh, so when y'all came on, you talked about like Sam Altman out at OpenAI, not all the other stuff behind it.
Right. I think we knew that the interim CEO had been
Appointed.
named.
Mira.
Right.
Amira Barati?
No, I
Oh,
think
past
Emmett.
that. Emmett
Yeah,
Shear. Got you.
I think Emmett Shear had just been announced.
Okay. All right.
But some of the other stuff, you know, wasn't there. But we did talk about the Cruise
Connection.
CEO.
Right. Okay.
Yep, and co-founder of Twitch as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he just left Cruise. He
Mm-hmm.
resigned as CEO from Cruise. So with some stuff in there that it kind of links, how we talked about earlier in the show, how all these folks were in the same Y Combinator
Okay.
together.
All
So,
right.
but
All
yeah,
right. Sorry. So definitely go follow Nica on DTNS. I think that was early this week. Was that
Monday.
Monday? So go to DTNS, go to the Monday show to see Nica kind of break down the beginning stages of OpenAI and
Right.
then come back over to us and see what the rest of the stuff came up. And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH. We're going to do a better job of putting out social media clips. So definitely
Yep.
follow us at SnobOScast to get the social media clips and some of the highlights of the show. Definitely go to YouTube. You go to SnobOScast on YouTube and see the full episode in video, in addition to some shorts and clips. So definitely do that. Show all the ways you can support. You can also go to snobOScast.com and get all this information. So if you need one place to go, start there. Start at snobOScast.com and then go down from there. So until next week, hopefully you don't eat too much. But if you do, that's your business. So
Yep.
until next week, peace.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye, everybody.